Hello everyone, we are back. For those of you just joining us, we are doing a bit of a marathon here. Oh, my controller's disconnected.
That helps when you're trying to play.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Sorry guys. We're doing a bit of a marathon since it's launch day for Dragon Age Inquisition, and my controller's really not working. Anyway, my name's Cameron Lee. Guys, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, you go first, Dave. You're next.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm on the audio team.
And my name's Jeremy. I'm the technical audio lead for Dragon Age Inquisition.
Okay, and can someone fix my controller?
Is it the USB thing? Because it
I don't
always
know.
come out loose.
Nope. There you go.
Cool. Nice talking to you.
Yeah,
this-
fun. This is good.
Go plug
No,
it.
it's not working. All right, technology is fixed.
We're back.
Yeah.
We're
Woo! All right, so as I was saying, we're going to do a bit of a marathon today. For those of you just joining us, in the last hour we had Mark Darrah and Mike Laidlaw and myself just running through the basics of the game, and now we're going to dig into a little bit of audio
Yeah.
and what was involved in making the audio for Dragon Age Inquisition with these very talented audio devs.
Oh, thanks, Cam.
Yeah.
That was so nice.
That was so
Yeah.
sweet of you. Yeah, I think one of the biggest focuses for us was to get away conceptually from the sort of clean and
I don't
sort
think
of,
that's an appropriate
the
use
aesthetic
of
of Mass Effect was
Inquisition
a very
resources.
different sort of.
This is why you're
Yeah, it was
not
much
in
more
charge.
clean. It was much more simple, more highly technologically advanced, that kind of stuff. So we
Yep.
wanted to get back to something more, to give
Gritty.
some, give some contrast to our work, and do something that had a little bit more saturation. Controlled distortion, shrieking, gritty, guttural.
Yep.
So with the creatures in Dragon Age, obviously the dragons being sort of the top of the food chain, it gave us a really good opportunity to showcase that side of our sort of tool suite, so to speak.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's a very nice juxtaposition to ME, I find, what we did with this game. So, and I don't know, it sounds great too. It is still very controlled though.
Yeah. And so having a big open world game like Inquisition is, with different environments like, mountains and swamps and deserts and places like the hinterlands, what went into like making those different sound sets?
They're big.
Yeah.
They're
They're
really,
huge.
really, really big. That was actually one of the greatest challenges for our team. Was I can't remember the exact metric, but I think DA2 fits into the hinterlands X amount of times. Like it is, it's power of 10 basically in size, I guess, in scale compared to last games we've worked on. So we basically had to invent new tools to do that.
Wow.
So a lot of the work that we did wasn't in building each, sound of a tree or sound of a lake or whatever, or a flag, for example. But we built one of the systems we built was called the procedural locator system, and it allowed us to attach sounds to sort of blueprints like trees or doorways or whatever, and then we press a button and it basically goes and generates all those sounds in the world.
Yep.
And then when you're playing it, it picks whichever ones are close to you and creates this kind of little. It's sort of the way that audio streaming or video streaming works when you're playing like GTA. They're only going to stream in the characters around you,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And we do the same thing with audio, so that we can get like a higher density of interesting sound,
Cool.
but it's dynamically shifting with where you're traveling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, one of the coolest things, and one of the ways it's the most dynamic, is it interacts with the local wind force of the game.
Oh, really?
So yeah, these sound emitters they're not just playing sound; they actually sample the wind force of the location of where they're at.
Yeah.
So let's say there's real physics wind in Frostbite, so we took advantage of that. And if there's like a big strong breeze, for example, and you'll hear it with the wind arch, you'll hear it with the trees and the brush, and all like kind of turn up together and give you this real immersion and sense of being there. Because that's like one of the biggest factors in feeling outside, is to actually hear the change of the world around you, not just its static sound.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think Hinterlands is a great example of that, because there's so many ups and downs and values and like open areas, and you can really, when you walk around, you really feel that audio-wise. And
Yeah. And we're coming into Redcliffe Village now, which is from Dragon Age Origins for those people who played. And so there's a lot of people in this. There's there's merchants, there's a tavern, there's different things to do, lots of quest givers and stuff like that. So what did it take to create the audio for this sort of a living, bustling kind of an area?
I think it was a combination of working really closely together with Caroline's team and making sure that we had, and the writing team, of course, to make sure that the people are saying stuff in the village. that always helps.
It does, yeah. Just like a village of mutes.
Yeah. And I mean, that was one of the faults on DA2, or one of the complaints that came back from the fan base that we wanted to address, was to make things feel more realistic and feel more alive. So we did a couple things. For one, we recorded more ambient VO.
Yeah.
We went and reused a lot of the ambient VO that made sense to, and repurposed it so we could play it back in these places and sell the environment a little bit more. And then one of the systems that Steve put together actually was a sort of a procedural wallet system that was connected to the prefabs, which are just little groups of people. And as you get closer and further away from them, it'll basically mix the level of the walla, which is the ambient sort of non-intelligible VO. So as you get closer to bigger groups of people, that gets mixed up a little higher, and gives you a sense of being close to them, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah, and we did a huge recording session in LA actually for this too, which was really nice. We got our own custom walla with a lot of different variations, which allowed us to, expand on those systems to get that quality that we achieved in this game. So
absolutely.
And so the VO team is the voiceover team, right?
Yeah.
So they're the ones that they work with all the actors and work with the writers, so they get the script, and then they work with the actors to actually record all of that stuff, which is really cool. It's actually one of one of my sort of early memories of joining Bioware. I came in on the weekend and I was walking to my office and I could hear this weird voice out of a room, right? And I'm like, it sounds like Miranda, right? And so I stick my head in, and there's Caroline working with Miranda.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's badass. And they're just like chatting away and talking. They're not doing any lines.
Yeah, just hanging out.
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's just run up here a little bit. We're going to go fight a dragon a little bit, but I just wanted to show some people a bit of Redcliffe Village, because it's a beautiful area, and the immersion in the world, both from the graphics and from the audio as well. It all comes together to make this.
Well, and that's our job. Our job is to support that narrative. It's to support it, in the narrative with music. It's to support it in the environments with sound design. But that's like when we're successful, that immersion should be seamless.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, you notice it very quickly if it wasn't done well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If reviews come out and we don't get mentioned at all, that means we get a perfect 10 in our minds. Yeah. Exactly.
There's Redcliffe Castle from
gorgeous.
Origins. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Absolutely.
I remember when we were sort of building through this area, it was part of. It was always planned to be built, but we took it up to quality quite early because of E3 as well. So that was one of my favourite parts, just walking up to that overlook.
you know, as much as we struggle with demos, I do think they benefit us in the end for that
Yeah,
exact reason.
I agree, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing to see something that you're working on for so long, and then it looks gorgeous and it plays well and sounds great. So
Absolutely. But yeah, back to the whole procedural thing. With the scope of this game, we basically just had to change the way we worked. We wouldn't have been able to do a game this big with our previous workflows.
Yeah.
We would have been crunching for the entire time the game was being
Yeah.
made. We just wouldn't have done it on time, basically.
We'd still be working on it.
So another system that we designed for this, which we're still iterating on for future games, is all the movement sounds that you hear from the party and from the enemies and stuff. Almost all of them, I'd say like 95%. They're all procedural, and there's no events on them at all. It's all
Right.
it's all driven from the physics system.
Yep.
And made up of a bunch of different parameters and parts of sounds, and they just play back together so that we don't have to tag animations, because there's thousands and thousands of animations that are constantly shifting under us, right? So.
Yep. All right, let's see where else I can go in the hinterlands. It's really cool. I think some people may have looked at that, the streams, but let's jump down here.
So can you tell us a little bit about where you guys get the sounds for creatures, or how you make those?
Yeah, how do you make a nug sound? And more importantly, how do you make the sound of a nug dying?
Oh yeah, that's a tough one. Well,
Cre-
you did most of the wilderness creatures.
Yeah, I did. They're a pain because you want them to sound natural, but you also want them to sound unique as to something that someone's never heard. So a lot of it is taken from real world sounds, like real world creatures and stuff, and just combining them, manipulating them, using samplers to layer them, and do granular synthesis with stuff. So you're mixing and blending all these different little pieces of audio to get these sounds. It's
To make them feel like one thing.
Yeah, but it's a process. It's a lot of trial and error. Lots of trial and error. Like, it takes a lot longer than you'd think with some, but some you can do. Some are faster than others. Like a black wolf, for example. You want it to sound like a vicious wolf. That one was.
Well, I remember when we first put the wolves in. Everyone has to have a die sound, right? Like when you kill the animal, and the whelps that we put in for the wolves were so.
Yes, I remember that.
People were playing. We're obviously just doing playthroughs of the game, and people were actually complaining that they sounded too real because they felt guilty for killing these dogs. It sounds like dogs whelping, and so we actually had to change those out.
No, we didn't.
Oh, we left them in.
I put them back in.
You put them back in, really?
Yeah,
I was pretty proud of them. I mixed them up a bit. I only left a few of the really horrible ones.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they're still there.
We got a lot of people asking, like, where'd you get those sounds? As if they thought we went home and beat our dogs or something. Like, no.
It's like, no, we need another take. Let's do this again.
Yeah.
No, they were pretty bad, but we
So
toned them
so
down
what
a bit.
about like very like crazy creatures like demons? Things like this. I mean, how do you get
a lot of
audio for this?
A lot of this was actually our own voices.
Really?
We would record ourselves, or we would record people on our team and
just manipulate it.
We'd sample them at really, really high sample rates, so we can pitch them up and down, not lose any frequency, not lose any of the high frequencies, and then just like I said, manipulate them through samplers and different things. And
alligators.
Yeah, with alligators,
Elephants.
Dolphins, whatever. And
Dolphins. There's dolphin sounds.
Dolphins are actually evil sounding. You just don't know it yet.
Find a deep stalker. A deep stalker is a lot of dolphin.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course you usually mix them with the elements they are,
Yeah.
Right.
A rage demon's gonna have some fire incorporated into it, and
This demon's been annoying. Okay. Yep. Come on. There we go. So this is a high level Fade Rift. There's more powerful demons in this one than wow, 2 rage demons and 2 of those. Okay, I'm gonna try and kill these things first because they're quite annoying.
what are they called again? Shrieker, like the.
Oh, the dreamers?
The despair demon.
Despair
That's
demons,
what it was.
Yeah.
They changed names a lot during development. So.
Oh yeah, everything changes names. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you guys have talked about where we get all that sound from, but what about all these weapon sounds we're hearing right now? How do you fill that content?
Well, that went through a lot of iterations actually. The first round was just a combination of a lot of swords, metal sounds that we use with slices, which we would layer on top of each other, and each character, like you hear the drill hand rope there, it was a lot brighter, so there'd be a lot more wispy tonal stuff in there, so there'd be a lot more like a lot of quicker whooshes, so the character feels faster. And whereas when you go to someone like Iron Bull here, he's swinging that axe around, we use a lot more heavier metal sounds and a lot more heavier impacts, just so you feel the weights of the character. That was kind of our game plan from the get-go. We defined the classes very early on, and we were able to create a lot of source for this stuff, so we were able to get this done quite quickly. But yeah, it's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, the combat vision was always quite clear for each different class, so it was an easy thing to choose to sort out early.
So when you say creating swords, are you guys swinging swords and axes, bashing chainmail?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Depends how stressed out we are that day.
and on time too. We have done a lot of recording sessions where we did record a lot of chainmail and stuff like that to simulate armor like this. So it all depends. It's like it's hard to remember what we used on this, as there are roughly 30,000 sounds in this game.
Yeah,
30,000 sounds. That's
30,000 individual assets.
Yeah, 30,000 individual sounds in the game.
That's cool.
And over 20,000 different events, like actual events. A lot of work. But yeah, we also use like boutique sound libraries. Like some people release like medieval combat, and we'll integrate that into our workflow and mix it with the stuff we've recorded, and then
awesome.
Yeah, it kind of goes. And we've also made 2 other Dragon Age games too, so we've got a lot of source
There's a lot of
to pull.
stuff there, yeah.
A lot of source we can pull that way too, and just see what we did before and try and make it better.
Okay, so what about the music side of things? Because I mean, Dragon Age as a franchise, you build a franchise with both visuals and stories and characters, but also the audio and the music as well, right?
Absolutely. We wanted to do a bit of a change in direction for this game, so we went with Trevor Morris as the main composer.
Yep.
And he ended up doing the whole game. And frankly, I've never worked with anyone as professional as Trevor's team. Like they were delivering just fantastic work right off the get-go. Mike Laidlaw and Mike Kent. Mike Kent did most of the music direction. He's the creative sound lead, for those that don't know. But him and Mike Laidlaw went out to LA and gave Trevor a presentation about basically the vision.
Yep.
And within, I think, 2 or 3 plots, we were receiving content back from him that was shippable.
Yeah.
And he really got, like, we sent him videos, we'll send him really big description of what the game is about, and he really got into it. He loved the IP and became an integral part of forming what it is now. Because
I do love the music. It's been fantastic. So.
I still get shivers on my neck in certain cutscenes and stuff. And I've seen that cutscene 1,000 times. Yeah. And it still emotionally hits home, right?
Well, I remember when you first showed the that sort of scene where you find Skyhold.
Oh.
And it was at the team meeting.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah. Everyone's like just kind of like, yeah.
And by the end, it was, the first time he'd send something, it would be like in game. That was, first iteration.
That's crazy.
Bang on.
We almost stopped looking at the end. Like with the the last 6 submissions, he'd send them through, and we'd be like, "Okay, great."
Yeah.
we got to get this in here.
Yeah. We know it's gonna be good, right?
Yeah. All right. Let's travel back over to where the dragon is. We'll fight a dragon. Yeah. I mean, because I asked you. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, is there a folder with all of the music in there? And you just shot me the folder. And I was playing through. I was going to pick a couple to send to someone. And I was like, everyone was awesome.
Hard to choose.
I guess I'll send this folder.
Yeah.
Inquisitor.
All right. Let's see. So I've got, before going in and fighting a dragon, it's good to be prepared. So I've got, obviously my healing potions are all set up. I've got some fire resist potions on every character. And in the case of my Inquisitor, the rogue, I've got some poisons there as well. Whereas the tanks have like a regeneration potion. Alright.
So maybe you guys can tell us a little bit about the actual equipment and setups you guys use to capture and create all this sound.
Well, it's actually...
This is getting full on for like, no, I think it's launch day. It's like, oh my god, work questions.
Yeah.
It's a little different for everyone, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's 2 different sides of that coin. You've got hardware, with which we're pretty much unified. We all use the same setup. We monitor on surround sound Genelec systems. We have Fireface UFX. That's where we do most of our editing. Our mixing, we have this beautiful mix room, which is just been finished, and we do all of our mixing there on a D command. And as far as sound creation, like what Dave was saying here, that can differ quite greatly from sound designer to sound designer. We try and keep the software suite similar, but even within that, there's so many pieces of software that certain people like more than other people, and
Yeah.
so yeah, it very much depends on your.
Yeah, hardware-wise, it's pretty, the same across the team. Everybody has the same hardware. It's just when it comes down to software, it's what you're more comfortable using.
Yeah.
Like some guys are more comfortable in Pro Tools, some guys use exclusively Ableton Live. Even a couple of guys have been testing out Reaper, and then even into there's so many software tools that are inside those engines that are just incredible. So
Yeah.
it's up to the designer, but hardware-wise, like Jeremy is saying, that's pretty much what we use.
Yeah, I'd say like as the mainstay, it would Pro Tools, Ableton, Native Instruments, and FabFilter were like the base that pretty much everybody touched. But then there's always those custom synths or custom plugins that certain people use more than others.
Cool. All right, so for those of us just joining in, we are doing a marathon Twitch stream today because it's launch day. Woohoo!
Woo!
Yeah.
We have a party later, right?
we will have a party later, I'm sure. So, earlier on today we did some time with Mark and Mike on just a bit of an introduction to the world and the game. And then right now we have, I guess, an audio focus with some of the audio developers here who made all these sounds here that we're looking at as we fight this big-ass dragon.
I'm just going to sit here and take credit for all of Mike's sound design.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Well, one thing we can talk about, this is actually one of the most complicated rig, obviously, in the game.
Yeah.
Being the biggest and baddest creature we have. The scope of how many different events this guy had compared to like another creature is like
he had about what, 250?
200 at least.
Yeah.
Different movement and different events for its actions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas another creature might only have 10 to 15. So it's a giant process getting this guy working properly, and it wasn't just Mike too. It was Josh Stixma.
Yeah.
Like he did a great job helping us out and getting it, sounding good and working and feeling very fluid as a creature, and I think it shows.
It required a lot of collaboration because it was being iterated on like so much. It was one of the key pillars
Yeah.
of combat, right? So
Absolutely.
it had to be perfect, and that required a lot of integration between the design team and the audio team.
And so we're hearing some good music now, so obviously the music ramps up in
Yeah.
during action.
So it's interesting. We implemented music in two ways. When you're in a scripted level, like a linear level, that's just more like a plot level, effectively. In the narrative, the music is all hand scripted by us in the design team.
Okay.
So it's just piece by piece by piece. It was scored like that, and then we play it like that. Whereas in the exploration areas, we don't have as much control over your path, right?
Yeah.
So we basically had to make the music interact with what we call the encounter system.
Okay.
So the designers set up the encounters with enemies, like the one you're fighting, and then we basically tier the music system to match the combat tiers within the encounter system.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there was different levels, right? Like
There's 5 different levels,
Yeah.
including silence.
yeah.
Most popcorn fights are silence, and then when you're just running around, it's just like an ambient sort of, music coming in and out every now and then it ramps up in intensity all the way up to, I think it's the bigger fights, like tier 2 fights, and then boss, and then the uber boss, which is dragon, is the to the wall level.
To the
basically.
wall.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's a popcorn fight for those people who don't know?
Popcorn fight is maybe you run into a bear,
Yeah.
Okay.
or maybe 2 darkspawn or something like that.
Yep.
Small.
Something that's small and should be easy.
Yeah.
And we don't want the music to suggest that it's dramatic.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want it
Because-
to be da 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 when you're like chasing a nug around or something,
Yeah.
Like, it's,
Although, come on, they are pretty.
Although that could be pretty
Yeah.
funny.
it could be pretty funny, yeah.
Who
Alright.
chases nugs around? They're so cute.
Oh
I don't
man,
know.
I chase them around.
I don't. I let them run away.
You got to chase them.
And then cast an AoE.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Giant mage AoE.
All right. So we've managed to damage the dragon enough that it's sort of fallen over here. So we took out a couple of its legs. It'll get up in a little bit and keep fighting, but this is a good opportunity to just wail away at it without much fear. So let's see what we can do.
So
we
while
won't do
Cameron's beating on that poor defenseless dragon, can you tell us a little bit about where'd the inspiration come for the sound of it, and like how'd you guys what did you guys want it to sound like? How did you want these dragons to come across, and what did you use for the actual screeches?
I think that's a hard question for us to answer since it was Mike's baby. I will say this. I know that the vision, like we discussed, was supposed to be saturated and distorted and scary and raw, and that I know that's what was driving his design. So as far as how he actually created it, I think
Nobody knows.
nobody knows. He's a bit of a mad scientist and just comes out of his room with perfect sounds.
Yeah, and we were lucky enough to be working right next door to him.
Yeah.
And he would be monitoring at full reference volume the entire time, so our rooms would be shaking for a week while he was working on it.
We got to know the dragon pretty intimately.
We did. We'd go for early lunches.
But yeah, he used a variety of tools. I know that he used alchemy a lot.
Yeah, alchemy was his main tool.
The main tool for the dragon, for blending, and then, like you said, the granular resynthesis.
Yeah.
That's a great tool for making disparate sounds sound unified.
So, sorry to interrupt, what about that screech? Because we've heard that screech in so many trailers.
I know, it's iconic.
It is
Dragon
iconic,
screech.
right? So how did you make that?
That's actually one of the first screams he made, and that was
yeah?
Mike using alchemy. He actually likes to. He did the same thing in Mass Effect, right? You're trying to identify the signature sounds right away, right?
Mhm.
So the two big sounds for the Dragon Age series were dragons in general, and their screams.
Yep.
And the fade, right? Those
Yeah.
those are the first two things we got out of the way right away. So we weren't wondering what they sounded like while we were in production.
Yeah.
We already had cleared direction and definition around them. But yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I'm just drinking potions as I fight here.
Now, do you aim for iconic with specific sounds?
Absolutely.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We want people to remember that dragon
Oh,
scream,
my God.
so.
Yeah. Usually, the primary enemies, the primary evil, the logo. The things that we know will be in trailers and in slates and stuff like that. And we want to really make sure that they stand out, so when people see them or hear them, they just go, that's Dragon Age, or that's whatever game we're working on.
Yeah. So this dragon is calling out some of its little baby dragons as well. As you can see, they're kind of like dragonlings. But that's ouch. Okay, we'll kill its babies.
Heartless, Cam.
I know.
Heartless.
Heartless, man.
Go for the nugs and the dragon.
Yeah. It's no shame.
They're just
Uh,
babies.